Good morning.
Good morning.
Ooh.
It is almost September.
Ah, like this year is flying, flying, flying. And I know it's because I've been so busy doing amazing things that sometimes I don't even feel like I have a moment to breathe. But it is all so fun and amazing and awesome. So it's perfect.
All good, all good. This morning, it's time for the weather report again. Let me tell you, it was in the 50s. It was in the 50s this morning, real early. We're hitting the 60s now, and we have every season all in one day, so it'll be in the mid 70s later on. But then tomorrow morning, like at 7 a.m., it's going to be 49.
Ooh. Okay.
So
So and
it's
this is where I'm like, I don't understand because someone yesterday was saying like this was a record hot summer, and I do not in any way, shape, or form buy that. It was not. I don't know who believes this, but it also just like I feel like whoever they are, want us to believe that it was exponentially hot. And I'm like, I know that the sweat lodge has changed my relationship with heat, but I still do not believe that this year was a record hot year. And I even feel like if I go to investigate it, someone somewhere has changed the data, so it's going to look like it was, even when it wasn't. I don't know.
It sounds like a lot of effort, but anything is possible. It didn't feel like that here, definitely. I feel like last year I felt it was a little more sweltering, but I don't know. It's August, and we'll see just how quickly everything changes. I was in mentally preparing myself for winter already, so there's like one more thing I want to buy before it gets real, real cold, and then I'll be ready. I'll be like, okay, we're ready this time. I promise.
Ready for Eddie.
Yeah, it'll
Oh.
be exciting. Very cool. How was your weekend?
My weekend was mostly like chill and relax for once. Like no sweat lodge, no craziness. Next
Uh,
weekend will be a different story. Or not next, but like this coming weekend, whatever you want to. I don't know if you call that next. I think it's this weekend
this
will be
this coming weekend. That's how I would
coming
say it.
weekend will be different. It is packed full. Sweat Lodge ceremony happening on Sunday afternoon. So if anybody out there is in South Florida and is curious to find out what this Sweat Lodge thing is all about, reach out and I can give you the instructions to come participate with us. So yeah, but so my newsletter topic um, this week, which I do have to say thank you to anybody out there who reads my newsletters. Because just like this podcast, there's times where I'm like, nobody's listening, nobody's reading, just stop with the effort. And then, so like, the newsletter I sent out today, two people reached out after it and like told me like either responded to it or told me how much they enjoyed, like they looked forward to every Tuesday morning, that with their morning coffee, although it should be cacao. Uh, they enjoy reading my newsletter, so it keeps going. But my topic this morning, like this weekend, like sitting in meditation and thought, and I was just like, why, like, hasn't everybody just chosen love already? Like, I know that love is the solution to everything, and just people just choose love. And the message that came back to me was because it's easier to hate than to love. And I was like, oh, yeah, I can see that. And that's like heavy and sad. And, but the truth is still out there. Love what you want to hate, and everything will turn around, I promise.
Beautiful
And I
message,
actually wrote a
sister.
blog about it too that's on, on the website. If anyone wants to hear my full thoughts on the topic.
I love it. Not to put too sharp a point on it. Well,
Ah.
I will tell you, unrelated, but in the annals of what Graciela's up to, I have been taking a little chat GPT dive. I've been very anti AI for a long time. And I started playing with it. So that's how I spent my weekend, is diving into different thought processes. And I will tell you, it's still interesting. I still don't trust it 1,000%, but it is interesting how quickly it processes information. I was using it to kind of help me brainstorm and, kind of just play around with some concepts that I have and whatnot. Things like what order stuff should be on a website, like things that would otherwise require me to do heavier research, right? Like, I know my message, I know what I want to say, and I know how I want to say it. I just need to know, like, okay, what's the best order, or, how best to get this out there. So it's really interesting. I'm going to put some stuff out there soon. Offerings that I've been thinking about and working on for 100 years and just never got a chance to put it out there. So I'm kind of excited about that too. So yeah, lots of new and exciting things on this side. But that was my weekend, and kids just started school yesterday. So I got 7 hours all to myself without having to drive anybody anywhere for 7 straight hours. Very exciting. This is a really big moment for me. I have been taxi mom all week. Is that a new mug? Is it a dragon?
I'm in here like very obviously sipping very slowly to wait to see, like, is she gonna notice? You want to know the best part of this mug, besides the fact that it's completely adorable?
It's a mushroom.
It is a little mushroom, but someone gifted it to me. It arrived magically at my house under no effort of my own.
That's how manifestation works. I love it.
So, but this came from one of our top listeners, Pam, out there. I don't think you're watching right now. I think you're going to watch on the replay, but thank you so much for my adorable mushroom mug. I
It's
love it.
beautiful. It's beautiful. I love it. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at our question for today. So we have, how do you honor your ancestors? What a deep, deep question. What do you got?
And it's interesting because, like, I think a lot of times when we hear the word ancestors, our mind goes back to way back when, hundreds of years ago, maybe thousands of years ago. And then sometimes I think about it as it's just anyone who is in our lineage that is not here in the 3D alive plane anymore. And which then takes that to, it's my mom, my grandmothers, my grandfathers. And those are the ones that I can most relate to, because I knew them when they were living. And I I feel like from my mom and my grandma, like, just being who I am honors them, because I am who I am because of what I learned from them. I mean, yes, I've got my own stuff going on too. I acknowledge myself for that. But really, they were like the way showers for me to be this being of light that is trying to spread love everywhere. And but like, my ancestry is German and Irish, although, like, some time ago I gave my spit to 23andMe, and now there's all that controversy over that, and maybe I shouldn't have given that to him, because now I've, like, sold my soul or something. But anyway, um it's been interesting how, when I first did that so many moons ago, the ancestry information was very limited. And now, like, every once in a while, I'll go back and log in to see what new things they know about me, because they've learned more about DNA and genetics. And so, interestingly, my German background is more Polish. Yeah. So, at somewhere, the Polish background moved to Germany, And and which also makes that German heritage feels, I don't even know what the word is to describe it, but because of Hitler and everything that went on there is a little bit of that, I don't even know, like some ickiness in connecting to that heritage, even though when that was going on, my lineage was already in this country. Um, so, but like I sit in the question, like, I don't really know how I honor that. And even like looking at, my mom loves our Irish heritage, but because it's a teeny part of us, like we never, other than, oh, it's St. Patrick's Day, like wear your green, wear your Irish proud. And but it doesn't go much further than that. But I do find myself recently, like a lot of my mythical um pursuits, connections have been to the Egyptian mythology, but I do find myself being more and more drawn to um, Celtic and what's happening over there. So maybe that will be my present day honoring of that ancestry, is allowing myself to dive a little bit deeper in there and explore that, and what gifts does it have for me, because I'm sure there is plenty there. How about you?
Yeah, I think that it's really it's interesting because there's like cultural heritage and then spiritual ancestry. Like those to me are like a little bit separate. My cultural heritage is all over the place. I we have every generation in the last 3 generations have moved to a different country and things like that. So some traditions stay and a lot of them fall by the wayside and things like that. And none of the cultures that I'm a part of really, I shouldn't say cultures, my particular family, I think we were so grounded in survival that any, traditions about quote unquote honoring your ancestors never really made it. Like the other day I was watching a video about, I think it was called like something about a Cuban family in Japan. I think I want to say it was like a Cuban mom and a Japanese dad or something like that. And they had a kid and the kid's an adult. And so they went to Japan to visit family there. And they showed how they have this beautiful altar and they've got their entire lineage, going back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, multiple generations. They have pictures, and if not pictures, names on papers, and it's just such a beautiful lineage. And every morning they go and they offer respect and honor to, in this little altar, and they light a candle and they leave a thing, and it's really very interesting. I am curious how that impacts someone's behavior, right? Like, how does that affect who you are as a human being and how you show up in the world? It's interesting. I don't know if it adds a layer of responsibility or I don't know. For me, it's, the like I said, the last couple generations, really our story has been about survival, like I'm not Mexican. We don't really do Day of the Dead in my culture, and yeah, I don't it's really interesting. So like everyone else, I have pictures of my family members up, and I know the names that I know, but I don't know X generations back. I mean, particularly that there was divorce in my family, there's a whole half that I just literally don't know anything about, so when I think of ancestors, I think more along the lines of spiritual ancestors, right? Like those big teachers that have come before me that I can learn from. I feel way more guided by them than like by my aunt or my cousin or my grandmother or my uncle who, have passed away during my lifetime, right? Like I don't know, it's just interesting that I view it differently. I don't feel guided, quote unquote, by my, cousins or something like that. Like, it's just a part of my life, and this person is gone. And, maybe it's that survival instinct, but like, we're just moving on. Like, we got to move on. I can't dwell in this, um, so for me, I really lean more into the wise ones that have passed, and, big life lessons that I can learn from them and call upon and things like that. That's how it shows up for me. Yeah.
Well, and I think no one really has any of this answer at this point from what I can see out there. And there will be people that will come and argue, like, no, this is how human history has gone. Um, but you know, if there was a creation story and there was a man and woman placed on this planet, and then, like, there are those accounts that say, we're all descended from the same people. So everybody that came before us is our ancestor. And there is the piece of honoring all those that came before us, all those that did everything, before we got here for us to be able to be here. And, um, you've talked about that a few times in some of our teachings when we're talking about things, and how many people came before us for us to be here, and to sit in some gratitude of that. um and it's also interesting to me, looking at history has just been his story that someone made up their version of what happened, and seeing so many different versions of those stories coming to light into possibility. And then there's the me that sits in the multidimensional spiritual realm going, none of it's real, all of it's made up. When is everybody going to finally wake up and realize that you're not actually a human, you are a divine being of light, and this is just a game that we're playing? And come on, everybody, wake up.
It's easier to focus on that in the middle of the month, but at the beginning of the month when bills are due, it's very much about the present and what's happening right now. That's for sure. What I
And
find
is it?
really For me, what I find really interesting is, like, I have this friend that she's got this beautiful online shop that sells home furnishings and things like that. And one of the things that she has is a leather 3D topography of your state, right? She has all the states, and they're really beautiful, just amazing works of art. I don't know that I have such a tie to geography that I would take something like that and put it up on my wall. And that's not to say I'm an American. Like, obviously I love living in this country and I'm very happy to be here, and all the good things. And also, I don't feel so impassioned, right, that I would want to put my state up. I don't know. It's really interesting. So, and maybe that has to do, like I said, with immigration and, lineages and things like that. But I don't know. I just always feel myself. I don't feel tied to a particular identity. Particularly that I'm attracted to spiritual paths and traditions that are not within my lineage, so then it takes me back to that big universal space of, I'm a child of everything. I'm a child of all the cultures. I'm a child of this entire existence, and without boundaries, right? So I don't know. It's like I said, it's very interesting. I would love to hear what our audience has to say about this.
Yeah.
How does ancestry show up for you?
And with what you were just saying before, like, one of the so many other cultures have resonated so deeply with me. And looking at my language capabilities, um you know my my Spanish capabilities typically blow people away, because someone who looks like this should be able to speak Spanish the way I do. and also just historically being able to understand languages that I don't speak. You know, my joke is I communicate in Italian, but I don't speak Italian. But even way back when in college, for a while, I worked at a fast food Chinese restaurant, and the cooks were all Chinese, and only one of them spoke English. The rest of them only spoke Chinese. And on shifts when, because the owner was Chinese American, so obviously he could speak with the chefs or the cooks. They weren't culinary trained chefs, obviously in a fast food restaurant. but um, but if the owner wasn't there, then it was always on Julietta. You go talk to them. You can communicate with them. And they'd be speaking to me in Chinese, and I'd be speaking to them in English, but we would communicate on some level that other people couldn't do. And sometimes I like all of these things that I don't understand of my ease of connection with other cultures is like, I know I've lived past lives in these other cultures, and I think because of that, and because I'll say the veil is a little bit thinner for me than some of the other people out there in the world, like I feel like I can still tune into all of those past lives and access what I know of them in this life and in this dimension. And I think other people are doing that oftentimes as well. They just don't realize that they are. And you know, going back to love what you want to hate, like to me, it's almost comical that in this lifetime you hate that person that you were in a past life. Like if you only knew, you would just love them. And yeah, it's you know, and that this conversation and that conversation has also taken me, you know, I think we talked about this on another episode, that I was an exchange student back high school, pre-college time. And the group that created that exchange organization were ambulance drivers from the world wars. And it was because, you know, after seeing all of the death and injury and that they did, like they wanted this to not happen anymore. And their whole thought process was, if you became friends with people that were different than you would no longer want to go to war with them. And like, while that's so beautiful, and you know, we've managed to not have a world war again, um you know, although that seems to be like a very shaky territory that we've been walking on in recent times here. But just the fact that war still exists out there, it's like, how have we not managed to wake up at least to that we don't need to be killing each other yet anymore?
I mean, at the end of the day, for me, all I can do is work with what's in front of me and show up in my full humanity and see everyone else in their humanity and take it one conversation at a time, you know? That's that's my role. That's how I show up in the world. Um, but I think it takes talking about it and having little conversations like these, you know, one at a time.
That's what we do. That's what the show's here for. To wake everybody up just a teeny bit more. So, do we have anything to announce? Do we have anything? Um, I mean, it's still not out on the website yet, and it's not open for open enrollment yet. But I think we can like drop the little seed there that the next retreat is on its way. If you've had exposure to our retreats before, we are opening it up to those people first because there's not a lot of seats for this retreat, and so it will sell out. So, but just putting it out there, if that's something that's been on your radar, we will be opening it up to the public probably next week, I think. And so we'll keep you all posted, but I'm just dropping that seed so it's on your radar. if you think this little conversation is fun, think about spending 3 days and 2 nights with Julietta and Graciela. Can be a wild ride.
It's definitely exciting.
It's exciting, it's transformational, it's I think one of the things that, both of us are seeing is the community that it's creating of the people that have been joining us, and seeing how they all support each other, they all stay connected and reach out. And it was super fun. Last week I did my first agreement. We're doing an online book club. So for those that, because I get the complaints, I don't live in Fort Lauderdale. How can I get more of you? And so we're doing the 4 Agreements book club every Wednesday night. Last week we did the first agreement, and a lot of the people on there were women from our retreat. So it was a lot of fun having like a little mini reunion online. And especially because several of them are non-local, so we don't really get to see each other very often. So being able to, quote unquote, see each other on Zoom was a lot of fun. And if that piques anybody's interest, you don't have to be present for each agreement. You can join even if you weren't there for the first one. And if you can only make one of the sessions with us, that is completely fine too. But I love the 4 Agreements. I think it's one of the books I've probably purchased the most copies of that book, because when someone asks me, like, where can I start? What can I read to help me on this journey? Because it's short, the messages are really simple, but extremely profound. Like, I don't even know how many times I've read the book. You just read them over and over when you need a reminder, because it's short, it's simple, it's sweet. So I just hand them out, and then I just buy myself a new one, and then I end up giving that one away, and then I buy another one. So I invite anybody out there that's listening. You can find it on the website to register if you want to join us and get the Zoom link and be a part of that. And yeah.
I was going to say, I think what I'm really getting excited about with the retreat is just how many people keep coming back. So many of our attendees, this is their 3rd or their 4th retreat with us. And for me, I'm just so grateful for that, because it's such a huge compliment. It's such a, I don't know, faith in us to produce something that is new and different, but consistent in, the transformation and the empowerment and the celebration, and, how you feel afterwards. So that's my high, is that transformative part of the retreat. And of course the built-in rest, which for someone like me that's always running around, that part's really important too. So I'm really excited about this retreat. I can't wait to talk about it more. Maybe next episode we'll give a few more details, but save the date, early January. Pay attention. It's going to be really cool. I'm excited.
It is indeed. And the other thing, speaking to people returning, I think, especially as someone who's been in the healing world for basically my entire adult life, probably even my childhood life as well. But I think people sometimes think that it's like you do this one thing and then you're done. And it's really just an ongoing journey. And all of us, myself included, need reminders about this stuff. You'd be sailing along and you're thinking everything's fine, and then there's a glitch in the system and you got to do the work again. And there's so many different layers and levels of getting to where you're going. And so even if you've done it once, doesn't mean that there's not reason and space to do it again and again and again.
Yeah, absolutely. 1,000%.
All right. You got anything else for today?
I think that's a wrap.
Sounds good to me. Have a